Chapter 1. BB, BB, BB. The calls imitating the goat echoed around the originally quiet mountain range. Li Qiye climbed up the mountain. The night wind was strong and cold, but at this moment he was so anxious that he was drenched in sweat. A 13-year-old child like Li Qiye, climbing the mountain range alone with his hands and feet, the scene in the dark night exuded a very strange feature, sending chills down one's spine if witnessed. Although the silent night was terrifying, Li Qiye's heart was burning like fire. Li Qiye was born into a tenant farmer family. His parents were poor people, and he started herding goats for hire at the age of 7. Li Qiye took the family name Li, and because he cried for 7 days and 7 nights when he was born, he was named Li Qiye, 7 nights. Today Li Qiye was herding goats as usual. Unexpectedly, at dusk when driving the herd back, he discovered one lead goat was missing. He was very worried and quickly returned to the mountain to search. However, even though Li Qiye had turned the entire mountain range upside down, he still couldn't find this goat. Thinking of the cruel old landlord Zhang Dehu, and now having lost one of his goats, Li Qiye felt utterly distressed and panicked. After searching all over the mountain range and still not seeing the goat's shadow, suddenly Li Qiye thought of one place. There was only one place left that he hadn't gone to search. Immortal Demon Cave. Looking up at the Immortal Demon Cave located ahead, the mountain cave in the dark night resembled a primordial ferocious beast, opening its huge mouth as if wanting to devour people alive at any moment, and the howling of wolves echoed in his ears like the cries of ghosts. Li Qiye couldn't help but shiver. The Immortal Demon Cave was considered an ominous place in this area. Legend said that a demon lived there, and anyone who entered would be eaten by it. Since ancient times, no one who went in had ever come out alive. At this moment, the sound of old Zhang Dehu's leather whip crack, crack echoed in Li Qiye's ears. If he lost a goat, old Zhang Dehu would surely whip him until his flesh was torn. Just thinking of this, Li Qiye clenched his teeth and walked towards the Immortal Demon Cave in front of him. In a flash, his figure disappeared into the dark night. In that desolate dark night, a desperate scream echoed from inside the Immortal Demon Cave. Li Qiye's voice, full of terror, rang out again. You, what do you want to do? Ah! Suddenly, the desperate cry abruptly stopped. It was unknown how long. A deep, ominous voice echoed from the depths of the Immortal Demon Cave. Good, my dark crow that lives forever and never dies is finally refined, only missing a soul. Today is just right to borrow your soul for a while. Flap, flap, flap. A moment later, rapid flapping sounds rang out. A bizarre black crow flew out from the Immortal Demon Cave. Fly away, I want to borrow your soul to remember the burial ground. According to this story, it is a place where mysterious people, animals, or objects are buried/hidden. Fly through all the remaining lands. As long as the 9 worlds are not destroyed, I will surely find you. From the depths of the Immortal Demon Cave, that ominous voice echoed out again. From then on, between this heaven and earth, a mysterious black crow soared and flew, entering the burial ground, reaching immortal cities, crossing the vicious domain. Unwillingly, it flew across the 9 worlds, overcoming countless hardships, living for hundreds of thousands of years without dying. Time passed and the eras changed accordingly. As one invincible figure rose, another mastermind fell. Gradually, it's unknown when it started, that mysterious black crow began to appear. A black crow wanting to break free from the evil confinement, began to seek control over its own path of destiny. From the medicine god to flying immortal emperor, blood hand immortal emperor, Minren immortal emperor, then sun-devouring immortal emperor and ice feather immortal emperor, finally to the black dragon king. Behind every mastermind of these eras, there was the shadow of a crow. The shadow of a black crow wanting to grasp its own fate. Although with the rise of every invincible mastermind, another divine being would be lost, the black crow still faintly appeared within the river of time. A black crow unwilling to be manipulated by fate, it wanted to confront the most terrifying figure in this heaven and earth. From tens of thousands of years ago until now. One era after another changed. Unwillingly, then bat du ky, meaning that people often have to do or cannot do things that are not what they want or that they cannot control themselves. Swoosh sound. Li Qiye, who was drifting in the river, was suddenly pulled up by someone. Ah! While being pulled up, Li Qiye suddenly woke up, and his first reaction was to jump up. Due to not having time to adapt to his body, he staggered and almost fell flat on his face. Ah, my body! Li Qiye lowered his head to look. Seeing that his body hadn't changed, he was both happy and frightened. Although he had gone through countless hardships and weathered so many storms, Dark Crow Li Qiye, he still couldn't suppress the excitement of finally regaining his body. Li Qiye took a deep breath, raised his head to look up, and saw an old man standing in front of him. Hee, it was this old man who fished you out of the river. The old man chuckled and spoke. When he opened his mouth to talk, he revealed only 3 yellow, decaying teeth, making his smile feel very mean. Li Qiye glanced towards the upstream. From afar he could vaguely see the shape of the immortal demon cave. Seeing it, Li Qiye's eyes suddenly became infinitely cold. The aura emanating from him was distinctly different from children of the same age, 13. Li Qiye took another deep breath, turned back to look at the old man, and after a long while, he finally asked, "How should I address you?" Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, Ghost Trio. The old man grinned again, revealing the 3 yellow teeth, chuckling in reply, spitting saliva. Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Li Qiye muttered. This name immediately brought up memories that had been sealed in his mind, from when his soul was still trapped in the body of the Black Crow. Currently, who is in charge of the Heaven's Will? Li Qiye calmed down and asked further. Heaven's Will. Currently, no one can yet shoulder the Heaven's Will. Ghost Trio still chuckled in reply. Where is Taoist Immortal Emperor? Hearing his answer, Li Qiye's expression immediately hardened. How long had he been sleeping soundly? More than 10,000 years. Taoist Immortal Emperor has been missing for 30,000 years. Ghost Trio still smiled meanly, replying to Li Qiye. Then what about the Black Dragon King of Heavenly Sea City? Li Qiye asked again. No one knows for sure. The Black Dragon King has also been missing for 30,000 years. Ghost Trio shook his head and replied. Hearing this, Li Qiye's expression changed drastically. He raised his head again to look towards the immortal demon cave vaguely visible in the distance. At this moment, Li Qiye understood why he was able to regain his body. Let's go. Li Qiye's expression darkened. He turned and left, regardless of whether Ghost Trio followed him or not. He had lived through so many long years, endured countless bitter hardships. At this moment he knew what he should do. Heavenly Sea City is the most powerful tradition of a contemporary invincible figure. In those years, when the Black Dragon King was still alive, looking across the 9 heavens and 10 lands, no one could defeat him. 3 generations were respected like that. Although the Black Dragon King has been missing for 30,000 years, Heavenly Sea City still stands proudly between heaven and earth like a gigantic monster. At this moment, a 13-year-old youth and an old man with a mean smile showing 3 golden teeth were standing outside Heavenly Sea City. Li Qiye quietly stood burning spirit money outside the city gate, murmuring, "Little Black, rest assured. In this life, you helped me regain my body. One day I will trample and kill the vicious domain, avenging you." Finished, Li Qiye looked up at the gigantic Heavenly Sea City ahead. The old scenery was there but the former people were gone. Everything felt strange. Recalling those years, he and Little Black had worked so hard to build this magnificent Sea City. Regrettably, after 30,000 years, how many people still remember the Black Crow that once hid behind the scenes? Let's go back to the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. At this moment, Ghost Trio glanced at Li Qiye and spoke, his 3 golden teeth twinkling. "Let's go." Li Qiye calmly nodded in reply. Even with the Ghost Trio's unpredictable abilities and mysterious background, he couldn't startle Li Qiye. He had gone through countless hardships, his soul trapped in the body of the Dark Crow for hundreds of thousands of years, passing through one era after another, walking alongside immortal emperors, making friends with the medicine god. What else could possibly surprise him? Not long after Li Qiye and the old man left, a woman of extremely elegant beauty walked out from Heavenly Sea City. She resembled a jade wave immortal maiden, a cold sea goddess. As she stepped out the door, her eyes accidentally caught sight of a corner of the spirit money still remaining in the pile of burned offerings. A faint symbol could still be seen on it. Upon seeing that symbol, the goddess's expression drastically changed. She sternly asked, "Who was burning spirit offerings here just now?" An old servant beside her quickly went to inquire about the news and swiftly returned to report. The guard said that not long ago, an old man and a youth around 13 or 14 years old were burning offerings here. Quickly chase after them, find them at all costs. The goddess immediately commanded in a stern voice. Your Highness was supposed to go to the Divine Mountain. The old servant hesitated and said, "Search." The goddess softly shouted, her body immediately flew through space, pursuing the 2 people. In the end, the goddess still couldn't find the person who burned the offerings, and had to return to Heavenly Sea City. She stood in silent self-reflection. That symbol had not appeared in Heavenly Sea City for a very long time. Why did it suddenly appear here after tens of thousands of years? Is it an enemy or a friend? Reporting to Your Highness, the person who burned the offerings could not be found. The loyal old servant stood and reported. Give orders, everyone must be vigilant, not negligent. If there is any news about those 2 people, immediately report to me. The goddess commanded sternly. Hearing her master speak like this, the old servant was extremely surprised. Under the current prestige of Heavenly Sea City, the reputation of their Heavenly Sea Goddess was also very famous. It was very rare to see her so serious. Then the Divine Mountain. The old servant mused. Cancel. The goddess said strictly. I need to quickly review some ancient texts left by our ancestors. This matter is truly a bit peculiar. After saying that, she immediately walked straight to the deepest part of Heavenly Sea City's forbidden area. Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect is located within the territory of the Sacred Protection Upper Kingdom, originally an Immortal Gate Emperor tradition, with a very ancient legacy. In the early years of the era of the Emperors, the proud Minrin Immortal Emperor stood between the 9 heavens and 10 lands, founding this sect and naming it Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Regrettably, after hundreds of thousands of years, the era changed and the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect was no longer the Immortal Gate Emperor tradition that dominated the 4 seas and 8 desolations of the past. As years passed, the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect gradually declined. Despite their best efforts to restore its former prestige, there was no way to reverse this trend of decay. Elder, not good, a mortal has come to our sect saying he wants to be the chief disciple. The Grand Elder of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect had just stepped out the door when he saw a disciple rush to report. Kick him down the mountain. The Grand Elder didn't even glance, saying right away. Does such a small matter need to be reported? A mortal wanting to be the chief disciple of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. A joke. Being the chief disciple also means being the successor to the sect master, and usually, the chief disciple has the potential to become the next sect master. However, if the sect master is not present in the sect, the Grand Elder can still handle these matters himself. But he was introduced by Ghost Trio. The disciple stammered, hurriedly saying, Ghost Trio. The Grand Elder frowned unhappily, saying, Is he opening his mouth promising people benefits just because he drank their wine? Ghost Trio was originally a member of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, but the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect didn't want to admit this member. Although the name Ghost Trio sounded very imposing, this name caused the elders of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect to lose face. Ghost Trio had three things he was extremely good at: spending money well, boasting well, and womanizing well, and he often called himself Lao Qiye, Old Master, so he was often mockingly called Ghost Trio. It was said that Ghost Trio hadn't cultivated any decent cultivation technique, but he had a very significant background in the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Rumor had it that he was the illegitimate son of the previous sect master, so when this sect master was about to die, he instructed the current sect master to take care of Ghost Trio. There were also rumors that Ghost Trio was indeed an illegitimate son, but of the sect master 2 generations ago, and the previous sect master had once received a great favor from this person. So that sect master reluctantly accepted this disgrace, gritting his teeth to take care of Ghost Trio. Before the previous sect master passed away, he also instructed the current sect master of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect to look after Ghost Trio. In the end, regardless of whose illegitimate son Ghost Trio was, the high-level members of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect didn't want to investigate and didn't care about the gossip of the world. The entire Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, from the high-level elders to the lowest disciples, did not welcome this Ghost Trio who didn't have much Dao attainment. So what if Ghost Trio introduced him, still kick him down the mountain? The Grand Elder angrily shouted, his good mood ruined by this person early in the morning. But he is holding the Cleansing Incense Ancient token of Ghost Trio. The disciple stammered again. Cleansing Incense Ancient token. Upon hearing these words, the Grand Elder's expression changed immensely. He pondered for a long time and then commanded, summon all the elders and let that mortal wait temporarily in the main hall. The Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect had a total of 6 elders, and the other 5, upon hearing the words Cleansing Incense Ancient token, also changed their expressions simultaneously and quickly came to the meeting. The founder of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, Minrin Immortal Emperor, once left behind 3 Cleansing Incense Ancient tokens, 2 of which had been recovered by the sect long ago, but for some reason, the third one fell into the hands of Ghost Trio. Aside from the previous sect master instructing the disciples of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect to take care of Ghost Trio, the second reason why the elders, although frustrated, couldn't do anything to Ghost Trio was his possession of that last ancient token. The person holding this token represents the arrival of Minrin Immortal Emperor. The person holding this token can request one condition in exchange with the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Sitting inside this ancient main hall of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, looking at the faint statue amidst the smoke, Li Qiye couldn't help but recall many old memories. The statue of Minrin Immortal Emperor stood tall in the highest place in the main hall. Although many years had passed, this statue still exuded an ancient divine might, as if piercing straight through the 9 heavens, making people feel reverence upon sight. Li Qiye looked at this statue for a long time. He didn't know how to express his feelings. Time flew quickly. Minrin Immortal Emperor had passed away, yet Li Qiye was still alive. Today he finally achieved his wish, regaining his body, but looking back, he only saw old friends, one by one, sinking into the clouds of time. Li Qiye recalled that time, when the ancient Nether era ended and the era of the emperors began. His soul was still trapped in the body of the Dark Crow. That was also the time when he temporarily escaped the control of the immortal demon cave after countless long years of continuous effort. At that time, he met Minrin Immortal Emperor, or more precisely, Minrin Immortal Emperor was still just a young man passionate about martial arts, knowing nothing about the great Tao. The time span from when Li Qiye led Minrin Immortal Emperor into this world of cultivators until now has been tens of thousands of years. How many generations of invincible powerhouses have appeared and then disappeared in the vast sea of time? When he accidentally caught sight of a jet-black wooden stick lying on the altar amidst the flickering incense smoke next to the statue, Li Qiye couldn't help but smile slightly. He really didn't expect the wooden stick to still be there after so many years. He had once used it to hit those enthusiastic young kids until they cried out in pain, calling for their parents. Just then, the 6 elders of the cleansing incense ancient sect had all gathered. Although they were old, their blood energy was still surging like a rainbow. Bright light radiating around their bodies. Although the cleansing incense ancient sect had declined, it was still an emperor tradition immortal gate. If the elders of the cleansing incense ancient sect accepted the titles bestowed by the sacred protection upper kingdom, they would all be given the title of hero. The 6 elders stared intently at Li Qiye, who still sat calmly, not caring about their scrutinizing eyes or terrifying aura. Where is the cleansing incense ancient token? Finally, the Grand Elder asked sternly. The cleansing incense ancient token was very important because it was left behind by the founder of the cleansing incense ancient sect, Minrin Immortal Emperor. Li Qiye slowly spread his hand and presented an ancient-style token. He was very surprised when Ghost Trio took him to the town, at the foot of the cleansing incense ancient sect mountain, and immediately burrowed into the Emerald Red Tower. Before leaving, Ghost Trio casually tossed a token to Li Qiye. Li Qiye really didn't expect Ghost Trio to possess the cleansing incense ancient token. In that distant past, Li Qiye was still trapped in the dark. When Minrin Immortal Emperor shouldered the heaven's will, he gave Li Qiye 3 cleansing incense ancient tokens. Later, Li Qiye bestowed these 3 ancient tokens upon others. Tens of thousands of years passed. Li Qiye felt infinitely moved looking at this ancient token. He didn't need it in those years, yet today he had to use it. The 6 great elders took turns holding and examining the cleansing incense ancient token, and after confirming that this object was genuinely authentic, they couldn't help but exchange glances, inquiring about each other's opinions. In fact, the cleansing incense ancient sect had wanted to retrieve this ancient token for a long time, but no matter what method they used, they couldn't take it from Ghost Trio. Because Ghost Trio knew that this ancient token was equivalent to a protective charm, so he firmly kept it, and refused to return it to the cleansing incense ancient sect. But no one expected that Ghost Trio would give this ancient token to an unknown mortal. So where is Ghost Trio? The Grand Elder coldly asked again. He really disliked this Ghost Trio who was good at spending money, boasting, and womanizing, regardless of which sect master's illegitimate son he was. He went to the Emerald Red Tower. Li Qiye calmly replied. Hearing Li Qiye's answer, the faces of the 6 elders all darkened. Although they disliked Ghost Trio, he was still officially a member of the cleansing incense ancient sect. They naturally knew where Ghost Trio went. The Emerald Red Tower was the largest and most famous brothel within 1,000 miles at the foot of the mountain. And this wasn't the first time Ghost Trio had visited the Emerald Red Tower. The 6 elders felt suffocated and didn't know how to vent their anger. They only secretly wished that the cleansing incense ancient sect didn't have such a notorious patron as a disciple. What is your request? Another elder spoke up and asked. They didn't know what method Li Qiye used to make Ghost Trio give him the ancient token, but the fact remained a fact, and the cleansing incense ancient token in front of them was absolutely not fake. I heard that the position of chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect is vacant, and Ghost Trio also strongly recommended it, so I want this position. Li Qiye slowly replied. Hearing him say that, the faces of the 6 elders turned black. What qualification did that scoundrel patron Ghost Trio have to recommend a candidate for the position of chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect? This position was extremely important. The cleansing incense ancient sect had to carefully select and filter, otherwise, someone would have already been in this position. Do not joke with the chief disciple position, an elder said coldly. I know. Li Qiye still said calmly. But the person holding the cleansing incense ancient token can request anything from you. This is the rule established by your founder, Minrin Immortal Emperor. Maybe you used a dishonest trick to snatch this ancient token. The Grand Elder interjected with a threatening tone. This chief disciple position could not be played with, given away just because someone wanted it. Li Qiye was not afraid, calmly continuing. I understand, the elders are afraid. That I used a wicked scheme to seize it from Ghost Trio's hands. If you elders don't believe it, you can send someone to the Emerald Red Tower to verify the truth. Although the 6 elders' expressions all darkened upon hearing the words, Emerald Red Tower, they still had to send a disciple to verify the truth. A moment later, the disciple sent to the Emerald Red Tower returned, confirming that Ghost Trio voluntarily gave the cleansing incense ancient token to Li Qiye was true. Of course, this disciple also tried to minimize information related to Ghost Trio's pleasurable womanizing in the Emerald Red Tower, otherwise, the faces of the 6 elders would become extremely ugly. Although the 6 elders reluctantly acknowledged the ancient token in Li Qiye's hand, they could not violate the ancestral teachings. The cleansing incense ancient sect, no matter what, was an emperor tradition immortal gate. Even if it had declined, they could not destroy the reputation left by their ancestors. Bring out the original appearance mirror. Having no other choice, the Grand Elder had to pass down the order. The disciples quickly brought out the original appearance mirror to shine on Li Qiye. Any mortal wanting to join the sect to cultivate the Tao had to be illuminated by the original appearance mirror. This mirror was used to examine physique, longevity wheel, and fate palace. In the original appearance mirror, Li Qiye's vague, blurred silhouette appeared, like a flickering candlelight that could be extinguished at any moment. Behind the silhouette's head was a faint halo of blood light, and a light also flickered atop his head, but both lights were extremely weak and fragile. The physique is mortal physique. The longevity wheel is mortal longevity wheel, the fate palace is mortal fate palace. Finally, the disciple in charge of checking Li Qiye's physique reported. Everyone has a physique. Longevity wheel and fate palace. The physique directly affects the body's strength, the longevity wheel governs the length of life, and the fate palace determines good or bad talent. And Li Qiye with mortal physique, mortal longevity wheel, and mortal fate palace made the 6 elders speechless. An utterly ordinary person like this was abundant in the world, they could casually pick up dozens of disciples like this. To be the chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect, you must at least have an innate body, not to mention a royal body or saint body. And your longevity wheel must be equivalent. Your potential is not suitable for this position. The Grand Elder flatly refused. I know. Li Qiye didn't think much, calmly saying right away. But I still want to become the chief disciple. You. Hearing Li Qiye say that, the 6 elders were extremely angry. A person like this brat wouldn't even qualify to be an ordinary disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect, let alone want to become the chief disciple. Such a request infuriated them greatly. I believe the descendants of Min Ren Immortal Emperor will not violate the ancestral teachings, betraying their master and destroying the ancestors' legacy. Li Qiye slowly said, shaking the cleansing incense ancient token. If this token falls into the hands of others, the consequences are truly unimaginable. Hearing him speak, the faces of the 6 elders hardened. The Grand Elder coldly said, even if such a thing happens, anyone wanting to be the chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect must undergo a comprehensive investigation, from their background to their origins, otherwise, they cannot become the chief disciple. That is your business. Li Qiye looked at the 6 elders and said, if you think another sect wants me to steal the immortal emperor legacy of the cleansing incense ancient sect, I just need to directly use this token to request it. Why bother demanding to be the chief disciple? You know better than anyone the power of this token. It would be no trouble at all if I wanted to use it to harm the cleansing incense ancient sect. Li Qiye's words made the 6 elders exchange glances. Although they were somewhat hesitant, they still didn't completely trust Li Qiye in their hearts. What he said is not entirely Unreasonable. Xiong Elder, one of the 6 elders here, mused. If the cleansing incense ancient token continues to drift outside, wouldn't that be a hidden disaster for our sect? The person holding this token comes to request, and we have no way to refuse. Why don't we just agree to his request? This matter cannot be joked with. The Grand Elder coldly replied. Since ancient times, the chief disciple has always been the sect master's personal disciple. Whether we accept it or not, let's just briefly ask for the sect master's intention before deciding. It's not too late. Another elder mused. That makes sense. After all, the chief disciple is the sect master's personal disciple. The remaining elders also echoed their support. Send a letter to the sect master. After the 6 elders finished discussing, the Grand Elder immediately ordered. A short while after the letter was sent to sect master Su Yonghuang, the 6 elders quickly received a reply. And the sect master's answer agreeing to accept Li Qiye, as the chief disciple surprised them into silence. This is absurd. The sect master is too confused. The Grand Elder read the sect master's reply 3 times, confirming he hadn't misread. He angrily shouted. Elder Gu, since the sect master has agreed, what else can we discuss? After all, the chief disciple is the sect master's personal disciple. The right to decide lies with the sect master. Xiong Elder advised. The sect master's decision is too confused. Other elders also shook their heads and sighed. Xiong Elder smiled bitterly. What other choice do we have? In the end, being able to retrieve the cleansing incense ancient token is already a great merit. 3 days later, after paying respects to the ancestors, you will officially be the chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect. The Grand Elder was very dissatisfied, saying with a forced voice. Li Qiye still sat calmly, not the least bit surprised. He just smiled and spoke. Since I am the chief disciple, I should have 1 or 2 weapons for self-defense, shouldn't I? Seeing Li Qiye respond so calmly, the 6 elders all felt strange. After all, this brat was only 13 years old, but his actions were as composed and relaxed as a powerful ruler, capable of controlling everything. Where could a mortal like him get such great aura from? The Grand Elder glanced at Li Qiye, shook his head, and replied. Although we recognize you as the chief disciple, we can only give you ordinary weapons. Powerful treasures are not yet for you to use. If you want to receive powerful treasured artifacts or immortal emperor cultivation techniques, you must contribute according to the rules of the cleansing incense ancient sect. Li Qiye slightly curved his lips into a smile. He fundamentally didn't care about immortal emperor cultivation techniques, supreme ancient arts, or any ancient treasures. What he wanted was the jet black wooden stick on the altar. Looking towards the wooden stick, Li Qiye continued. All right, then I want that wooden stick. That wooden stick. Hearing Li Qiye's request, the 6 elders were stunned. That wooden stick was originally only used to stir the ashes when burning spirit offerings to the founder of the cleansing incense ancient sect. It seemed to have always been there and very few people were interested in using it. The elders originally thought that Li Qiye would take advantage of his new status to demand a treasure or an immortal emperor technique, but they didn't expect him to only want a wooden stick. This request truly exceeded their expectations. Li Qiye spoke leisurely. Since I am the chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect, my status and position deserve respect. This wooden stick is located in the main hall, and this main hall is the ancestral hall of the cleansing incense ancient sect. Everything here is very significant. It can be said that this wooden stick can represent the authority of our cleansing incense ancient sect, so it is very suitable for my status as the chief disciple. Watching Li Qiye continuously speaking a long string of reasoning, the 6 elders were momentarily speechless. They secretly thought, this stupid brat and that scoundrel patron ghost trio are truly 2 of a kind. Fine, bestow that wooden stick upon you. The Grand Elder was no longer patient, interrupting Li Qiye. To him, this object was just an ordinary ash-stirring stick, better to give it to Li Qiye quickly so he wouldn't have to listen to his babbling anymore. Thank you, Elder, for the bestowal. Li Qiye had talked so much just waiting for this word from the Grand Elder, his mouth was still thanking while his hand quickly grabbed the wooden stick and tucked it into his waist. His action, in the eyes of the 6 elders, was no different from an utterly stupid act. Huairen. Take him to rest. Finally, one elder lost his patience, loudly commanding the disciple to lead Li Qiye away. To the 6 elders, today's situation truly made them extremely frustrated. A trash could become the chief disciple of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Although the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect was no longer as glorious as before, it hadn't fallen so low as to let a foolish trash person be the chief disciple. Li Qiye was led by the disciple to a solitary peak. This peak was not small. At the top of the mountain there was a small courtyard built on a 10 mu piece of land. 10 sa is 1 mu, 3,600 Western square feet is 1 mu. The small courtyard seemed to have been abandoned for a long time, no one had come to repair it, and weeds grew everywhere. The peak was also in a quite remote and solitary location, but no matter what, it was still within the territory of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Pushing open the courtyard door and entering, the disciple immediately said, "Junior brother, no, senior brother, this will be your residence from now on." He quickly corrected his address after the first 2 words. In terms of the time of joining the sect, Li Qiye couldn't compare to him, but Li Qiye had become the chief disciple, according to seniority. All 3rd-generation disciples, regardless of age, had to call Li Qiye senior brother. Li Qiye glanced at this quick-witted disciple, then looked around, nodding and saying, "This solitary peak located far away is also a good place to live. Moreover, it lives up to its name, Lone Peak." The disciple smiled and said, glancing at Li Qiye a few times, finally speaking, "Senior brother will be the master of this peak from now on." In fact, according to the rules of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, the chief disciple was fully qualified to stay in one of the main peaks. The Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect owned quite a few sizable peaks, and the chief disciple could choose one for himself at will. However, most of the main peaks of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect were already occupied, and the 6 elders were all dissatisfied with Li Qiye's demand to be the chief disciple, so they would naturally never allow him to stay on a main peak. Staying on a main peak had many advantages, the best being that those places had extremely rich heaven and earth essence energy, far surpassing other ordinary peaks. "Here is fine too," Li Qiye said indifferently. He fundamentally didn't care about comparing or competing. "I have also brought all the necessary supplies for senior brother." This disciple handled things skillfully and meticulously. After arranging all the necessary daily living items for Li Qiye, he said, "If senior brother needs anything else, just come to the outer hall and look for me." "What is your name?" Before this disciple left, Li Qiye asked casually. The disciple felt surprised at being suddenly asked. He basically didn't think much of Li Qiye. With Li Qiye's potential, let alone becoming the chief disciple, he wouldn't even qualify to join the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. While in the main hall, Li Qiye's actions made others feel that he was truly foolish. But now Li Qiye was extremely calm and indifferent, making this disciple feel strange, wondering if Li Qiye had a mental problem, or if he seemed to have everything planned out. "Senior brother, my name is Nan Huairen. I am an external affairs officer of the outer hall." The disciple quickly regained his composure and replied to Li Qiye, "My name is Li Qiye." Li Qiye slightly nodded. Floating for hundreds of thousands of years, the number of people who knew his background and name could be counted on one's fingers. After Nan Huairen left, Li Qiye didn't sit around idle. He swept and cleaned the small courtyard, and also tidied up the entire peak. When he relatively finished everything, this abandoned lone peak finally felt a little bit of human presence. Li Qiye did everything in a neat and orderly manner, slow but sure. If someone accidentally saw him repairing this place, they wouldn't dare to believe that Li Qiye was only 13 years old. After a lot of work, the sky gradually darkened. Li Qiye felt both tired and hungry, so he sat down in front of the courtyard door. After inhaling and exhaling for a while, Li Qiye pulled out the wooden stick tucked in his waist to look at it. Li Qiye looked at the jet-black wooden stick that people used to poke ashes when burning offerings, and the distant memories associated with it came rushing back, making him smile slightly, full of bitterness. The world often rumored that if an immortal emperor shoulders the heaven's will, they can live forever, but where did Min Rin, immortal emperor, sun-devouring immortal emperor, and those contemporary invincible masterminds go? In which immortal realm are they? Li Qiye regained his composure, slowly scraping off the soot clinging to the stick, finally revealing its true appearance. This was a wooden stick about 1 meter long, although it had been poked into charcoal fire for hundreds of thousands of years, it hadn't burned up at all. In everyone's eyes, besides that, this wooden stick had no other miraculous features. Li Qiye gently wiped the wooden stick with his hand, murmuring, "Serpent-beating staff." Holding the wooden stick in his hand, recalling the old stories made his heart filled with indescribable emotions. That day, when Min Rin, immortal emperor, had not yet shouldered the heaven's will, he, as the guide for this immortal emperor, had once cultivated a group of young men and women to serve as Min Rin, immortal emperor's attendants. To properly educate those young men and women, he specifically brought this serpent-beating staff out from the ghost forest. Those young men and women who later became famous throughout the world had once been whipped by Li Qiye with this wooden stick until their skin peeled and flesh tore. When he finished training them, Li Qiye casually left this serpent-beating staff at the cleansing incense ancient sect, and he really didn't expect it to remain there in the ancestral hall. Clutching the serpent-beating staff, Li Qiye suddenly fell deep into silence. After countless efforts, he finally regained his body, and his soul also escaped the control of the dark crow. Time rushed by without mercy, so many people who were once his friends and relatives, like the medicine god, Blood Hand Immortal Emperor, Min Rin Immortal Emperor, even the Black Dragon King who lived through 3 eras, finally left the mortal world. In that distant time in the Barren Era, he was just an ordinary 13-year-old goat herder, who entered the immortal demon cave while searching for a lost goat, only to have his soul imprisoned in the dark crow, thus living from one generation to the next. At that time, Li Qiye was truly terrified, as the dark crow he could not resist, he could only follow the route set up by the immortal demon cave. He flew tirelessly between heaven and earth, entering the burial ground, crossing the old earth, traversing the 9 worlds, and eventually was forced to return to the immortal demon cave. But because Dark Crow Li Qiye traveled through countless mysterious and dangerous places that even invincible great sages feared, learned countless secrets, and strived to train under all hardships, his Tao heart was cleansed to an extremely firm state. From then on, he was absolutely unwilling to become an immortal puppet Dark Crow, so he devised an incredibly grand plan. Wanting to cut off all the restrictions and routes within his soul. To escape the Dark Crow, to regain his body, he successively guided and taught many potential youths to step onto the path of cultivation, even assisting the most outstanding ones to advance onto the path of invincibility to shoulder the heaven's will. But today, when Li Qiye had returned to his old body, once again a person, all his old acquaintances had already departed. Li Qiye sighed softly, then quickly took deep breaths to stabilize his heart, resolving to cross mountains and rivers, defeat all obstacles, and one day charge straight into the immortal demon cave. The news of Li Qiye becoming the chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect quickly spread everywhere. Those in the high level weren't too resentful, as they fundamentally had no other choice when faced with the cleansing incense ancient token. A trash like Li Qiye was simply lucky. But the young Third-generation disciples were not like that, simply because according to the age-old rule, the great disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect mostly came from among the disciples. Furthermore, the person holding the chief position must have achieved brilliant merits and undergone strict examination by the elders to be recognized. Moreover, the chief disciple, besides being personally taught cultivation techniques by the sect master, also had the opportunity to access high-level emperor arts. The final crucial point was that since ancient times, the chief disciple had a very high chance of becoming the next sect master. And according to the current situation, no one in the second-generation disciple group had been selected for this position, which meant that the chief position would surely be chosen from the ranks of the third-generation disciples. The people who reacted most intensely were the outstanding disciples with good aptitude, high talent, and who had made considerable contributions to the sect, so they were extremely angry and felt injustice about Li Qiye claiming this position. Suddenly, the entire cleansing incense ancient sect was in an uproar. What qualification does a mere mortal with mortal physique, mortal longevity wheel, and mortal fate palace have to be the chief disciple? Several geniuses grumbled. Such a person is an insult to our cleansing incense ancient sect. A few older geniuses, though unwilling, could only sigh. Who told him he was lucky enough to get the cleansing incense ancient token? Even the elders had no choice but to accept. There were also geniuses full of self-confidence, coldly laughing. He's only the chief disciple, an incompetent person like him can't compete with me for the sect master position. Who says the chief disciple will definitely become the sect master? If he doesn't know his place, I won't mind teaching him a lesson. But no matter what, even if Li Qiye truly wasn't qualified to compete for the sect master position, all the disciples still felt uncomfortable having to call an incompetent, younger brat like Li Qiye senior brother. Isn't the only unrecovered cleansing incense ancient token in the hands of Ghost Trio? How did it fall into that brat's hands? Another disciple couldn't help but curiously ask. Ghost Trio possessing the last ancient token was not a great secret. The cleansing incense ancient sect still wanted to retrieve it, but Ghost Trio was adamant about not agreeing. Therefore, almost everyone found it strange that Li Qiye got it. Hee, I heard this brat has some tricks. I just don't know how he tricked that lustful old ghost. Another disciple coldly laughed and replied. I heard that when the elders sent people to verify this, Ghost Trio was happily enjoying himself at the Emerald Red Tower. It's very possible that this brat treated Ghost Trio to a good time in exchange for the ancient token. Saying this disciple snorted angrily, feeling nauseous inside. So he and that womanizing old ghost are birds of a feather. Hearing this, the other disciples exclaimed with contempt. Although rumored that Ghost Trio was the illegitimate son of some great sect master, everyone in the cleansing incense ancient sect, from top to bottom, did not welcome the greedy, womanizing old ghost like Ghost Trio, who only liked to squander and indulge, especially the young third-generation disciples who had no respect for him at all. If it weren't for the entrustment of the previous sect master, Ghost Trio would probably have been expelled from the cleansing incense ancient sect. If Li Qiye and Ghost Trio were in cahoots, these disciples became even more hostile towards Li Qiye. But before 3 days had passed, and Li Qiye had not yet paid respects to the ancestors, the cleansing incense ancient sect received a letter from the 9 Saint Demon Gate. What? The 9 Saint Demon Gate wants an assessment. Upon receiving this news, the 6 elders were stunned. One elder felt very annoyed, irritably saying, The 9 Saint Demon Gate got the news too quickly. Li Qiye just became the chief disciple, and they immediately want an assessment. Another elder chimed in. It seems the 9 Saint Demon Gate wants to break free from the promise made years ago. A newly admitted trash like Li Qiye is unlikely to pass the assessment. So when they received this news, they eagerly pressured us. We have no choice. The Grand Elder was silent for a moment, finally reluctantly speaking. Currently, the 9-Saint Demon Gate is in charge of an entire kingdom. Since we can't compare to them, how can we be qualified to negotiate terms here? The Grand Elder's words plunged everyone into silence. In the early days of the era of the Emperors, their cleansing incense ancient sect was immensely prestigious, ruling a kingdom. Revered by 10,000 sects, once threatening the 9 worlds and sweeping across the 8 desolations. No one in the vast central great territory could threaten or shake the position of the cleansing incense ancient sect. But as time went by, the cleansing incense ancient sect gradually declined, its former prestige gone, let alone ruling a kingdom. They didn't even have enough strength to govern a country, much less the ability to confer titles like hero or marquis on others. What should we do now? An elder suddenly asked. They all knew in their hearts. A newly admitted incompetent person with mortal physique, mortal longevity wheel, and mortal fate palace like Li Qiye was unlikely to pass the 9-Saint Demon Gates assessment. Treat a dead horse as if it's alive. What else can we do? Another elder replied. If he truly succeeds, we and the 9-Saint Demon Gate will be in-laws. At that time the Heavenly Saint Sect and the Sacred Protection Upper Kingdom wouldn't dare to look down on the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Towards such a difficult dream to come true, the 6 elders could only smile bitterly, but no matter what, they still had to try. Li Qiye was on Lone Peak waiting for the day of the ancestor worship ceremony, when suddenly he saw Nan Huairen visiting. Senior brother, the elders called you to the ancestral hall. Nan Huairen hurriedly reported to Li Qiye. Is it a big deal? Li Qiye glanced at Nan Huairen's demeanor, casually asking briefly. Although Nan Huairen felt surprised, he didn't hide anything, nodding and replying. Not to deceive senior brother, the 9-Saint Demon Gate sent a message. Saying this, he glanced slightly at Li Qiye and continued. I heard that senior brother's fiancé wants to assess senior brother. 9-Saint Demon Gate. Li Qiye suddenly recalled some distant memories upon hearing this name. Nan Huairen thought Li Qiye didn't know the 9-Saint Demon Gate and hurriedly explained. The 9-Saint Demon Gate is a large, well-known sect in the Central Great Territory. They govern the ancient Ox Kingdom, granting titles of Marquis and King. Our Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect and the 9-Saint Demon Gate have had a close relationship since ancient times. The founder of the 9-Saint Demon Gate, 9-Saint Great Sage, was once the foremost general under our founder, Minren Immortal Emperor. This person once followed the founder to sweep across the 9 worlds. When the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect was governing the kingdom, the 9-Saint Demon Gate still had to come and pay tribute to us. I've also heard of the 9-Saint Demon Gate. Li Qiye smiled faintly and casually. He knew the 9-Saint Demon Gate well and had even met the 9-Saint Great Sage. In the early days of the era of the Emperors, he guided the brat Minren into cultivation, and for Minren, Li Qiye expended countless schemes and efforts, finally subduing the old demon 9-Saint Great Sage, forcing the old demon to be a Dao protector for the brat Minren. How does this involve a fiancé here? Li Qiye asked Nan Huairen. Nan Huairen replied. According to legend, when our founder shouldered the heaven's will and became an immortal emperor, the 9-Saint Great Sage and the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect made an agreement. If their future successor was a female disciple and our successor was male, the 2 sects would become in-laws. Saying this, he sighed softly and continued. At that time, it could be said that they wanted to climb higher. It seems that old geezer had a female disciple back then. After hearing Nan Huairen, Li Qiye sank into memory and muttered. He vaguely remembered that the 9-Saint Great Sage had taken in a female disciple, but Li Qiye was plunged into a deep sleep, so he had put those minor things aside. What did senior brother say? Hearing Li Qiye muttering, Nan Huairen didn't hear clearly and asked. Li Qiye regained his composure, shaking his head. Nothing. So the current successor of the 9-Saint Demon Gate is a female disciple. Nan Huairen replied. I heard that it has been a long time since the cleansing incense ancient sect and the 9 Saint Demon Gate had an in-law relationship. In this lifetime, their successor happens to be a female disciple. He paused for a moment, glanced at Li Qiye's attitude, and continued. I also heard that the successor Li Xuangan of the 9 Saint Demon Gate is a born royal. Physique. Hearing Nan Huairen's story, Li Qiye understood the root cause. The 9 Saint Demon Gate naturally didn't want to marry a successor with such potential and talent to a disciple of the declining cleansing incense ancient sect. That's somewhat interesting. Li Qiye smiled slightly. Nan Huairen was surprised to see Li Qiye still so composed. He felt very strange that a 13-year-old brat with mediocre aptitude could calmly face everything like a marquis who had weathered countless storms. If it were anyone else, after hearing Nan Huairen's words, they would feel uneasy and extremely panicked, but Li Qiye was completely the opposite, appearing relaxed and unconcerned. Has Huairen explained the specific situation to you? When Li Qiye entered the ancestral hall, the Grand Elder coldly asked. In truth, the 6 elders absolutely did not welcome a trash like Li Qiye, but due to the current situation, they hoped that he was not entirely incompetent, hoping that he could luckily pass the 9 Saint Demon Gates assessment. At this moment, the cleansing incense ancient sect badly needed a giant like the 9 Saint Demon Gate as an in-law. Although they knew the chance of success was minuscule, they still wanted to try. Reporting to the elders, I understand clearly. Li Qiye nodded slightly in reply. Good. As long as you can pass the 9 Saint Demon Gates assessment, we will reward you generously. The Grand Elder maintained his cold attitude. Li Qiye smiled, speaking leisurely. I am willing to go for the assessment. But I have 3 conditions. Audacious. One elder suddenly shouted. You dare to set conditions in front of the elders? If it were any other disciple seeing an elder roar like that, they would be trembling with fear, but Li Qiye just smiled faintly. Elder, don't be angry, junior brother Nan has explained the specific situation to me. If I truly pass the assessment, it will be a huge contribution to the sect. Meritorious deeds must be rewarded. It's normal for me to state my conditions. Then wait until you pass the assessment before we talk. This elder was very annoyed by Li Qiye's provoking behavior, irritably snapping. That's fine. The Grand Elder just nodded, continuing. Don't worry, as long as you pass the assessment, you can choose any type of cultivation technique, except for Heaven's Will secret arts and crucial immortal emperor cultivation techniques. I think the other elders won't have any objections. The 6 elders exchanged glances and opinions. If Li Qiye succeeded, such a request wouldn't be too excessive. The main thing was that this brat's chance of success was unimaginably small. We'll discuss the other conditions after I pass the assessment. Li Qiye smiled and said. Also, there is one condition I must mention beforehand, so that the elders can prepare in time. When I reach the body tempering realm, I will need a portion of high saint body. Hearing Li Qiye's demand, all 6 elders changed their expressions. One person roared, asking for too much. Li Qiye acted as if he hadn't heard, calmly continuing. Elder, we've already said, becoming in-laws with the 9 Saint Demon Gate is a very great contribution. Although a high saint body is precious, I still feel it is worth it. Humph. A high saint body is not something you can just have so easily. This elder's voice was full of dissatisfaction, coldly snorting. The Grand Elder glanced at Li Qiye, musing. If you succeed, receiving a portion of high saint body is not too much. But currently, the sect cannot meet this demand because we still lack many spirit medicines to refine a high saint body. Looking at the Grand Elder's expression, Li Qiye secretly sighed. It seemed he had still overestimated the current cleansing incense ancient sect. This sect was no longer as glorious as before. Recalling when Min Ren Immortal Emperor founded the cleansing incense ancient sect. How abundant its treasure trove was, let alone a high saint body, even a high immortal emperor body was available. Then how about this? I'll step back, I want the best high royal body. The 6 elders looked at each other again to solicit opinions. Finally, the Grand Elder spoke. I can agree to that, but the condition is still that you must succeed. Li Qiye smiled, looking at the Grand Elder, then replied. Furthermore, before going to the 9 Saint Demon Gate, I have a small request. Since I don't know if I'll survive the trip there, I need to learn some cultivation techniques, and 1 or 2 self-defense weapons. Finally, you have some intelligence, taking advantage of the situation for personal gain. Xiong Elder irritably spoke up. The Grand Elder felt agreement, nodding in reply. How about this? There are cultivation techniques and weapons in the sect's inner hall. You can choose 1 item of each. What do the elders think? Although the elders didn't like haggling with Li Qiye, they still agreed to the Grand Elder's proposal. They all knew Li Qiye's chance of success was almost 0. Giving him cultivation techniques and weapons wouldn't increase his chances much, but it was better than nothing. At least it added a small ray of hope. The elders are overly worried. How dare I make an excessive demand? Li Qiye naturally saw through the elders' internal thoughts. He smiled casually and said, I heard the sect has a wondrous gate saber art that can be quickly learned. I want to learn this martial skill, and also need a pair of twin sabers to go with it. I wonder if that's possible. After Li Qiye finished speaking, the 6 elders listened and their eyes widened. They originally thought he would open his mouth demanding high-level things like emperor arts, but they didn't expect him to want such a cultivation technique. Wondrous gate saber art. The Grand Elder mused and asked again. An elder quickly replied. Elder Gu, that is a martial skill of our sect, insufficient to achieve the Tao. This person was responsible for distributing cultivation techniques in the sect, so he had the most information. Hearing this, the other elders were surprised. In the eyes of cultivators, a martial skill is insufficient to achieve the Tao. Any normal cultivation technique is far superior to a martial skill. But Li Qiye insisting on choosing the wondrous gate saber art martial skill left them bewildered. Truly a trash person who doesn't know how to choose good things. No problem. Huiren, bring the wondrous gate saber art to his peak, and also select the best pair of twin sabers for him. For this request from Li Qiye, the Grand Elder quickly commanded. Do you have any other small requests? Seeing Li Qiye not making an excessive demand, one elder felt satisfied and asked generously. This junior temporarily does not. Li Qiye replied modestly. Good, then you go prepare a bit, depart in 3 days. You will pay respects to the founder after you return. The Grand Elder said sternly. Of course. Whether he could return alive or not was something no one could predict. Not long after Li Qiye returned to the peak, Nan Huiren brought the manual for the wondrous gate saber art and a pair of very comfortable twin sabers. He looked at this pair of curved moon twin sabers and felt quite satisfied. The curved sabers were crescent-shaped, with cold light faintly visible, but this was not a weapon that cultivators commonly used. This type of short sabers, specially made for a mortal physique, no matter how sharp or refined into a treasured artifact, would still not catch the eye of any cultivator. After Nan Huiren left, Li Qiye slowly read the wondrous gate saber art technique. As he read each word and sentence, corresponding cultivation flows appeared in his mind. Back then, when he was still the Dark Crow, although he had successfully escaped the control of the immortal demon cave, his condition was unstable, and he was occasionally affected by the immortal demon cave. When he felt such a condition, he would seal himself, plunging his soul into a deep sleep. He had endured countless years of hardship and torture, in every era, entering the most dangerous places, even falling into the hands of many powerhouses, overcoming numerous difficulties and obstacles. But precisely because of this, he was exposed to many cultivation techniques and manuals. even seeing emperor arts and immortal laws. Fearing that one day he might lose control of himself and be summoned back to the immortal demon cave, in every lifetime he would erase all the memories of the cultivation techniques and secret arts he had learned in that lifetime, preventing those earth-shattering secrets or cultivation techniques from falling into the hands of the immortal demon cave. However, he, along with the medicine god and blood hand immortal emperor, had used an extremely mysterious method. Even if those memories were erased from his mind when he read those cultivation techniques again, all its profundities would once again appear in his mind. At this moment, all the key points related to the cultivation of the wondrous gate saber art slowly appeared in Li Qiye's mind. It took quite some time for Li Qiye to completely recall all the memories of the wondrous gate saber art. Taking a long breath, carefully comparing the things in his head with the manual in his hand, Li Qiye suddenly discovered that the wondrous gate saber art seemed to be missing something. This feeling made him a little worried. In fact, it was normal for a cultivation technique like the wondrous gate saber art to be incomplete. After all, this kind of martial skill was insufficient to achieve the Tao. In the eyes of cultivators, this martial skill was just a minor trick. After hundreds of thousands of years, it was likely that very few people in the cleansing incense ancient sect had practiced the wondrous gate saber art. After struggling to think for a while, Li Qiye finally fully comprehended all the profundities of this martial skill. He smiled faintly. Although Li Qiye's physique, longevity wheel, and fate palace were very ordinary, incomparable to those geniuses, his entire life he had been exposed to countless cultivation techniques, manuals, even the supreme secret arts of the immortal emperors of all generations. So his explanations and comprehension in cultivation were unmatched by any genius. More importantly, when he was the Dark Crow, he had experienced countless hardships and tortures. Even being locked up for more than 10,000 years without seeing the sunlight, so his Tao heart was extremely tough and persistent, nothing could shake it, no difficulty could make him retreat. Li Qiye patted the wondrous gate saber art manual, sighing softly, and from the memories related to this martial skill, he recalled things related to it that perhaps no disciple in the cleansing incense ancient sect could know. In those years, when Minren Immortal Emperor was still an enthusiastic young brat passionate about martial arts, before truly cultivating the Tao, he had practiced this wondrous gate saber art martial skill. Later, when Minren Immortal Emperor shouldered the heaven's will, becoming a sovereign of the 9 worlds, he was filled with emotion, thinking about the past, and so he refined the wondrous gate saber art martial skill he had practiced in his youth. Of course, this type of martial skill could not compare to the emperor arts that Minren created, let alone the heaven's will secret arts. And Minren himself did not hope that his descendants would practice this martial skill. Thus, the wondrous gate saber art technique remained in the scripture repository of the cleansing incense ancient sect for hundreds of thousands of years. After countless years, the number of disciples who practiced this saber technique became fewer and fewer, let alone anyone among them who could truly comprehend its mysteries. At that time, when he saw Minren Immortal Emperor refining this wondrous gate saber art technique, Li Qiye once mocked him, saying that even if this saber technique was practiced to its peak, it could slay a marquis, but perhaps no one would want to practice it later on. Despite Li Qiye's teasing, Minren Immortal Emperor only smiled. He just didn't expect that Li Qiye's prediction about the fate of this martial skill would be correct that year. Li Qiye withdrew his stray thoughts, holding a short saber in each hand, and began to practice the wondrous gate saber art technique. Li Qiye was extremely strict with himself. He slowly practiced each move, each form very carefully, striving for perfection in every aspect, not rushing, not seeking quick mastery. From the moment he started practicing the saber, Li Qiye felt strange. Although he understood all the profundities of the saber art in his heart, when performing the saber moves, he couldn't stop trembling, unable to meet the necessary requirements. However, Li Qiye was not discouraged. Practicing the saber art over and over again, Li Qiye gradually became proficient with each arduous practice. In just one short night, Li Qiye had practiced 300 times, he slowly grasped this profound technique. Gradually, every saber move was accurate. Although Li Qiye himself possessed countless startling memories and secrets, his firm Tao heart told him that, in this life, if he wanted to level the immortal demon cave, he needed to pay the price of 100 times more effort. Otherwise, even if he had more resources, he would not be able to level the immortal demon cave. At present, no one could understand the immortal demon cave better than him. For 3 days, Li Qiye did not step out of the house. He confined himself to the inner courtyard just to diligently practice the saber art. He had to prepare thoroughly, because Li Qiye knew clearly this trip to the 9 Saint Demon Gate would likely be dangerous. 3 days passed in a flash. Li Qiye began his journey to the 9 Saint Demon Gate. Besides Nan Huairen, who was solely responsible for communication, he was also accompanied by a protector with the surname Mo. The Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect had a total of 6 Grand Elders, 12 Protectors, and 36 Hall Masters. Today, going to a major sect like the 9 Saint Demon Gate, only one Protector led the team. It was truly beyond words. Just the 3 of us. Before setting off, Li Qiye looked at this embarrassing group, opening his mouth to ask. Protector Mo, who led the team, was originally a man of few words. He was also Nan Huairen's master. Hearing Li Qiye ask, Protector Mo only glanced at him, not even bothering to answer a word. On the contrary, Nan Huairen was a sharp and quick-witted person. As soon as he heard Li Qiye ask, he chuckled awkwardly, and then spoke to reply. Senior brother, the elders have recently been busy going into seclusion for cultivation. They don't have time to go along. Li Qiye slightly curved his lips, saying indifferently. Going into seclusion for cultivation. They're probably afraid of losing face. After all, I don't have a chance to pass the assessment. They themselves are elders. If they personally show up, my failure is a small matter. Their loss of face is a big deal, right? Being exposed by Li Qiye, Nan Huairen couldn't help but feel ashamed, smiling wryly in agreement. Although Li Qiye was right, he hadn't even started cultivating yet, and he dared to participate in the 9 Saint Demon Gates assessment. At that time, it would probably be more than just one instance of losing face. In the minds of the 6 Grand Elders, Li Qiye definitely couldn't pass the assessment. To them, failure was certain, so going to the 9 Saint Demon Gate would only result in disgrace and nothing more. Senior brother is too worried. Nan Huairen forced a smile, then said. The 9 Saint Demon Gate isn't very friendly towards us, so the elders don't want to conflict with them. That's why the elders aren't participating in this matter. Li Qiye smiled faintly in reply. Just the 9 Saint Demon Gate, how can they be enough to achieve the Tao? It seems the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect is no longer what it once was. Back then, even if the 9 Saint Great Sage was alive, he still had to pay tribute to the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Seeing Li Qiye speak so arrogantly, Protector Mo just coldly snorted, glared at Li Qiye, and didn't bother to talk to him. And Nan Huairen could only keep forcing an awkward smile, afraid that Li Qiye would become more aggressive. He quickly changed the subject, introducing Li Qiye. Senior brother, this is my master, the protector of the sect. I humbly ask Protector Mo for extra care on this trip. Li Qiye bowed his head, his etiquette correct and natural, calm and at ease. Protector Mo glanced at Li Qiye, not wanting to say much, speaking. Let's go. Saying that, he turned and left. Protector Mo himself was a protector of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. In fact, his age among the protectors was quite old, and his Tao attainment wasn't bad. But unfortunately, Protector Mo was inherently a man of few words, and not good at socializing, so his status in the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect was only ordinary, incomparable to other protectors. Otherwise, this time going to the 9 Saint Demon Gate would not be led by him. The high level of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect all understood clearly, this trip was definitely going to be a comedy show. And Li Qiye was definitely the main actor in that play. even potentially attracting deadly disaster if he wasn't careful. This trip was bound to fail, so not only did the 6 Grand Elders avoid it, but even the other protectors didn't want to lead, and finally, this matter fell onto Protector Mo's shoulders. Protector Mo also thought that this trip would surely bring nothing good. So how could his mood be better? Therefore, he became even more silent, not even bothering to explain a single word. Protector Mo led Li Qiye and Nan Huairen to the Tao altar of the cleansing incense ancient sect. The Tao altar was extremely large, capable of holding 10,000 people, very imposing, looking across the entire Central Great Territory. Perhaps very few hereditary sects had such a large Tao altar. The green Tao altar was extremely ancient, built with precious divine stones, inscribed with the immortal emperor's writings above, with a heroic and unfathomably profound aura, each inscription seemingly capable of blurring time and space. From this Tao altar, one could see the foundation of the cleansing incense ancient sect. This Tao altar was personally created by Minren Immortal Emperor in the past. It was once used by Minren Immortal Emperor to launch his expedition to distant places, traversing the 9 worlds. This kind of Tao altar, looking across the entire Central Great Territory, only Emperor Tradition Immortal Gates could possess. Buzz a sound at the moment the Tao altar was opened by a disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect. A huge Tao gate was erected inside. The Tao gate was polished with divine gold, deeply inscribed with profound emperor script. The Tao gate had a series of slots. These slots were used to insert spirit crystals. Spirit crystals are spirit stones condensed from heaven and earth essence energy. They have many uses, one of which is to open the Tao gate, traversing the void territory. The more spirit crystals and the higher the level, the farther one can traverse the void territory. Regrettably, currently this Tao gate only had a few spirit crystals inserted, just enough for the quantity, and the level was also limited. Seeing this scene, Li Qiye sighed softly in his heart. The cleansing incense ancient sect had truly declined. Back then this Tao gate was filled not only once with spirit crystals from the immortal earth, it had once been capable of traversing the 9 worlds, as long as the coordinates were accurate. People could go anywhere. Buzz another sound in an instant. Li Qiye and the 2 others were teleported to the 9 Saint Demon Gate, stepping out from within the 9 Saint Demon Gate's Tao gate. As soon as they exited the Tao gate, whether it was Protector Mo or Li Qiye, they immediately felt the dense, thick heaven and earth essence energy. Looking around, it was clearly the scene of an immortal sect. The territory of the 9 Saint Demon Gate could be said to be tens of thousands of miles wide, with majestic mountains and rivers, cascading waterfalls, divine trees reaching the sky and ancient jade palaces floating amidst the clouds. In the deepest part, there were even streaks of divine light soaring to the sky. It was clear that countless world-shocking heavenly treasures were hidden there. Within the 9 Saint Demon Gate, there were longevity beasts, monsters in this story, entering and exiting cloud caves, exhaling and inhaling smoke, and heavenly beasts flying in the 9 heavens, the aura of the primordial wilderness surging through the clouds. This was the site of a major sect. With such an atmosphere, no wonder they could rule a kingdom. If compared to the cleansing incense ancient sect, the cleansing incense ancient sect was more like a dying old man in his twilight years. They couldn't be compared. Seeing such a magnificent sight, whether it was Protector Mo or Nan Huairen, they were momentarily lost. Although this was not the first time they had come to the 9 Saint Demon Gate, every time they saw it, a wave of disappointment arose in their hearts. Remembering those years, even a colossal monster like the 9 Saint Demon Gate had to come and pay tribute to the cleansing incense ancient sect. Regrettably, the glory of those years was gone. Today's cleansing incense ancient sect had declined, even needing to rely on the 9 Saint Demon Gate. So it's personally Brother Mo, long time no see. When the 3 people, Protector Mo, stepped off the Tao altar, an old man from the 9 Saint Demon Gate brought a disciple to greet them. The matter of the assessment had been conveyed by the cleansing incense ancient sect to the 9 Saint Demon Gate. so the 9 Saint Demon Gate was already prepared. The greeter was a hallmaster of the 9 Saint Demon Gate. This hallmaster's surname was Fu. His face was cold, a smile was rarely seen on his face. He had shimmering treasure light around him, with cold glints flashing in his eyes. Each cold glint seemed substantive, making others afraid. I apologize for bothering Brother Fu, for Brother Fu himself to greet us. I am truly honored. Upon seeing Hallmaster Fu, Protector Mo hurriedly bowed his head and replied. He didn't realize that his own aura was significantly lower than the opponent's. This was not difficult to understand, although Hallmaster Fu was only a hallmaster from the shimmering treasure light around him. One could see that he was already a hero of one side. Just think, in the Cleansing Incense ancient sect, only elders were conferred the title of hero, while the opponent, only a hallmaster, already had such strength. Protector Mo said to Hallmaster Fu. Brother Fu, we have come here this time for the matter of the assessment. Hallmaster Fu forced a pretense of 7 parts happiness, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, saying, the elder has given instructions on this matter. At this point, he glanced at Li Qiye and stopped, then continued. This person is the chief disciple of your esteemed sect, correct? That's right, Li Qiye is the chief disciple of our sect. Protector Mo forced an awkward smile before replying. A person with Li Qiye's potential was truly nothing to be proud of. The assessment is just a friendly discussion. Hallmaster Fu still maintained the smile that didn't reach his eyes, speaking. Brother Mo doesn't need to feel pressured. In his eyes at this moment, Li Qiye was simply an ant, nothing more. Just an assessment, how can it be enough to achieve the Tao? Li Qiye also didn't bother to look at Hall Master Fu, speaking leisurely. Hallmaster Fu coldly snorted, fundamentally ignoring Li Qiye, saying to Protector Mo. Please follow me, Brother Mo. In his opinion, arguing with a junior like Li Qiye was beneath his status. Protector Mo couldn't help but roll his eyes at Li Qiye. Hallmaster Fu led the 3 people, Protector Mo, into a modest room. According to the 9 Saint Demon Gates arrangements, a place like this was only used to receive ordinary guests. To discuss the matter of becoming in-laws, the 9 Saint Demon Gate only sent a hallmaster to preside. Moreover, they used the etiquette for ordinary guests to receive the 3 people, Protector Mo. From this, one could see that they fundamentally did not take this matter seriously. After Hallmaster Fu finished arranging things for the 3 people, Protector Mo, he only said a few polite words and then left, his attitude extremely cold. Protector Mo had already prepared himself to lose face from the moment he accepted this task, so he was not angry, only silent. Afterwards, that Hallmaster Fu hurriedly went to a place deep within the 9 Saint Demon Gate. At the ancient hall he met with an elder. This elder was sitting amidst the void, the divine light behind his head constantly revolving, entering and exiting continuously, strands of Dharma chains interlaced around him. His divine might was incomparably majestic. Like a god. How is the chief disciple of the Cleansing Incense ancient sect? The elder's voice resonated like rolling thunder, but this frightening sound only echoed within the ancient hall. Hallmaster Fu was very imposing outside, even conferred the title of hero, but at this moment he was only trembling with fear, kneeling and saying. Reporting to the elder, he is just an ant, merely a mortal, an ignorant and arrogant junior not worth mentioning. I understand, you may withdraw. That powerful voice like rolling thunder rang out again, making the listener tremble. Even closing their eyes would not relieve the fear. Hallmaster Fu did not dare to be rude, carefully withdrawing. After leaving, his entire body was drenched in sweat. He was only a hallmaster, it could be said that he was not qualified to meet the elder, even if he was a marquis, he had to be summoned by the elder to meet. Choosing a vulgar mortal with mortal physique, mortal longevity wheel, and mortal fate palace to be the chief disciple, the Cleansing Incense ancient sect cannot be saved anymore. After Hallmaster Fu withdrew, this elder seemed to be talking to someone else. It's a pity for Min Rin Immortal Emperor's Emperor Art. The legendary Min Rin Immortal Emperor's Heavens will secret art is likely with the cleansing incense ancient sect. A solemn and mysterious voice rang out. The elder continued. Reporting to Demon Emperor Your Majesty, as long as Min Rin Immortal Emperor's Emperor Art is still with the cleansing incense ancient sect, after some time, we can take action to seize it. A vulgar mortal like the cleansing incense ancient sects is not worthy of our 9 Saint Demon Gate successor. That mysterious voice did not ring out again, and that elder also fell silent. If there were outsiders here, they would likely be utterly shocked. One must know that the demon emperor of the 9 Saint Demon Gate was an extremely terrifying figure. Legend says that the demon emperor had a very significant background. The 9 Saint Demon Gate became increasingly brilliant in his hands, ruling the vast ancient Ox Kingdom. Nothing could shake it. This was not only because the 9 Saint Demon Gate was powerful, but also due to the great merit of the demon emperor throughout the ancient Ox Kingdom. Perhaps no one dared to challenge his divine might. After the 3 people were led into that small room, Protector Mo remained closed up in the room. As for the clever Nan Huairen, he didn't know where he ran off to. Li Qiye, since entering the room, immediately practiced the wondrous gate saber art diligently, not wasting a single second. He understood that the 9 Saint Demon Gate would absolutely not let him off easily, so he had to be prepared. He continuously practiced the saber technique diligently. He wanted every move and form to be perfect, reaching the peak state, not allowing a single mistake. Li Qiye practiced repeatedly, his clothes soaked with sweat, going from dry to wet and back from wet to dry. Even when his nerves were numb, he still practiced tirelessly. Having lived through long years, Li Qiye understood better than anyone else. Comprehending the profound meaning was one thing, but reaching the peak state was another. Even if one was a peerless genius, understanding immortal arts early, if they didn't practice diligently, they likely wouldn't be able to reach the peak. After enduring so much torment and weathering so many storms, Li Qiye had developed a mindset of pursuing perfection, pursuing the peak. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The short sabers left Li Qiye's hands, lightly flying like butterflies, the 2 curved sabers intertwining, their power mysterious and unpredictable. Li Qiye had practiced this move countless times, but when the 2 curved sabers flew back into his hands, he softly sighed. Although he understood the profound meaning of the wondrous gate saber art, he couldn't bring it to the perfect state. For example, the move just now in his eyes was still slightly off, not reaching the precise position. Amazing saber art, senior brother is truly hardworking. I feel so humble compared to your efforts. Just then, Nan Huairen stepped in from outside, accompanied by a young man. Nan Huairen was moved to see Li Qiye cultivating so diligently. The words just now were sincere. Although he previously didn't think much of Li Qiye's aptitude, seeing him so hard-working, his feelings improved. It's just diligence compensating for lack of intelligence. Li Qiye put away the short sabers, although his body was drenched in sweat. He still looked very calm. Nan Huairen chuckled. I will remember senior brother's words, and I will also strive to work hard. Saying that, he immediately introduced the young man standing next to him to Li Qiye. This is senior brother Zhang from the 9 Saint Demon Gate, a good friend of mine. Nan Huairen had some aptitude, but was not considered a genius. However, he was different from his master, Protector Mo, who was a man of few words and not good at socializing. His personality, on the contrary, was flexible and skillful, making many acquaintances. He was the messenger for the external affairs of the outer hall, and had represented the elders in delivering messages to the 9 Saint Demon Gate several times, so he had made quite a few friends. Of course, those people were not important figures, just ordinary disciples. This disciple surnamed Zhang was also one of them, but in his eyes, a mortal like Li Qiye was not worth mentioning. In fact, none of the ordinary disciples at the Nine Saint Demon Gate wanted to meet Li Qiye even once. He only nodded at Li Qiye out of consideration for Nan Huairen's feelings. To him, the kind of martial skill Li Qiye was cultivating was meaningless. This is senior brother's first time at the Nine Saint Demon Gate. Why don't you come walk around with us and get familiar with the environment? Nan Huairen meant well, inviting Li Qiye. Li Qiye heard that, subconsciously thought of something, and smiled in reply. All right. Nan Huairen hurriedly turned and said to the disciple surnamed Zhang. Brother Zhang, I have to trouble you to lead the way this time. Brother Nan is too polite. This disciple had no choice but to nod in reply. He didn't bother to look at Li Qiye again, if it wasn't for Nan Huairen Sake, he really didn't want to go with Li Qiye. In fact, the Nine Saint Demon Gate, as the host, should have taken Li Qiye on a tour of the various places to show cordiality. But this sect fundamentally looked down on Li Qiye, so the basic courtesies were omitted. If it weren't for the promise made by the Nine Saint Great Sage years ago, the Nine Saint Demon Gate today would probably not acknowledge this marriage arrangement. It was also because the Nine Saint Demon Gate didn't want to be in-laws with the cleansing incense ancient sect, wanting to nullify it, that they came up with the idea of assessing Li Qiye. This disciple surnamed Zhang led Nan Huairen and Li Qiye on a tour as the host. Of course, he completely avoided talking to Li Qiye, only occasionally conversing with Nan Huairen, treating Li Qiye as if he were invisible. However, their stroll along the mountain paths of the Nine Saint Demon Gate still drew quite a bit of gossip, causing many disciples to whisper and discuss. Is that the chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect? In the distance, a disciple saw that Li Qiye was just a mortal. Couldn't help but frown and ask. Other disciples of the Nine Saint Demon Gate laughed disdainfully, saying, the cleansing incense ancient sect is a low-tier sect, even a mortal can be the chief disciple. This chief position is truly worthless now. A mortal wants to marry senior sister Li. A muddy stick reaching for a jeweled tray, doesn't he even look at himself in a mirror? Li Xuangan, the successor of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, was not only a peerless genius, but also incredibly beautiful. Countless young disciples of this sect were secretly in love with her. The number of young, handsome talents who wanted to pursue her could line up from east to west of the ancient Ox Kingdom. A vulgar mortal is worthy of being senior sister Li's fiancé. Truly a pipe dream. A disciple angrily exclaimed. Some even wished they could rush up and spit in Li Qiye's face. The leading disciple surnamed Zhang felt even more ashamed. He naturally saw the expressions of his fellow disciples, so he walked faster and faster, leaving Li Qiye behind, acting as if he had no relation to him. But Li Qiye remained calm and at ease, walking leisurely, completely ignoring those people, slowly admiring the scenery of the Nine Saint Demon Gate's mountains and rivers. Senior brother, you must be careful. There are countless people pursuing the Nine Saint Demon Gate's successor, be careful they don't cause trouble for you. Nan Huairen honestly reminded Li Qiye, in a low voice. She's just a girl, why all the fuss? Li Qiye looked at Nan Huairen, replying calmly. He had met many beauties capable of toppling kingdoms, so he fundamentally didn't take the person called his fiancé to heart. This was just an insignificant matter. Hearing Li Qiye's words, Nan Huairen was startled, quickly lowering his voice. Senior brother, this is the Nine Saint Demon Gate, don't be reckless. Li Qiye smiled, saying nothing more. Since the Nine Saint Demon Gate wanted to assess him, he should also see how much inner substance this sect still had. Unknowingly, Li Qiye and his group arrived at the arena of the Nine Saint Demon Gate. This was a place where everyone in the sect could come. The moment one stepped into the arena, one would immediately feel very small. The arena was extremely large, a person standing in that vast space would feel incredibly empty, like a tiny and standing in a boundless land. The arena was made of jet black rock blocks. On each rock block, the writings of great sages were faintly visible, exuding a mysterious and powerful force. It was this force that enveloped the entire arena, so that when cultivators fought, they couldn't destroy this place. Great Sage Level Arena. Even though it wasn't his first time here, the powerful aura of the arena still made Nan Huairan tremble. And the disciple surnamed Zhang boasted proudly. This arena was personally crafted by our founder. It can withstand the fighting power of the Great Sage level. From this Great Sage level arena, one could gauge the deep inner substance of the Nine Saint Demon Gate in the eyes of many sects. It was a source of great pride. In a distant era, our cleansing incense ancient sect also had an arena. Nan Huairan couldn't help but mumble, his voice very low, then suddenly fell silent. In truth, the cleansing incense ancient sect once had an arena that was even higher than this great sage level 1 of the Nine Saint Demon Gate. According to legend, the arena could even withstand the terrifying destructive power of an immortal emperor, and was brought back by Min Rin, immortal emperor, from an extremely distant place in the starry sky. Regrettably, it's unknown what happened later, but this arena was completely sealed, and the later generations of cleansing incense ancient sect disciples were unable to unseal it. For symbol stone men. Li Qiye stood nearby but seemed not to hear the conversation. His eyes were focused on the 4 large stone statues at the 4 corners of the arena. At each corner of this arena was an extremely large stone statue. Hundreds of zhang tall, like giants. Although each stone statue had a different demeanor, they were all very lifelike, as if carved by the hand of a master sculptor, with an incredibly natural and perfect saber technique. This was what Li Qiye wanted to see the most. Since the Nine Saint Great Sage passed away, he hadn't come to the Nine Saint Demon Gate again. He didn't expect that after countless years, the 4 stone statues were still standing exactly where they were. While Nan Huairan and his friend were chatting, no one paid attention to Li Qiye. Only later did the disciple surnamed Zhang notice Li Qiye's behavior, frowning and asking, "What is that idiot doing?" Nan Huairan looked over and saw Li Qiye trying to climb onto the stone statue at the eastern corner. Due to his limited strength, Li Qiye failed several times. At this moment, many disciples had gathered around the arena, seeing Li Qiye acting like a country bumpkin, first touching the giant stone statue, then muttering to himself, as if he had never seen such a large stone statue in his life. The scene caused most of the disciples here not only to whisper among themselves but also to loudly laugh and mock him. Nan Huairan felt extremely embarrassed. These 4 statues were not sacred objects of worship of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, so Li Qiye's actions made Nan Huairan unable to stop him, but also unable to ignore him. Just then, Li Qiye waved his hand and called Nan Huairan over, making it impossible for him to refuse, so he walked towards Li Qiye under the gaze of the crowd of disciples. "This stone statue is too tall, take me up there." Li Qiye was incredibly calm, ordering Nan Huairan. "Ah!" Nan Huairan only uttered a sound and then fell silent. He truly suspected that Li Qiye was either very stupid or had a mental problem. In front of the Nine Saint Demon Gate disciples, this guy was asking him to put him on top of this stone statue. He truly wanted to bring disgrace upon the cleansing incense ancient sect. "Are you going to take me up there, or do you want everyone to continue admiring my monkey show?" Li Qiye calmly asked, as if at this moment he was the one standing outside watching the spectacle. Nan Huairan truly had no choice. He had to grab Li Qiye, and with a jump, he landed on top of the statue's shoulder. Li Qiye sat on the statue's shoulder, leisurely looking into the distance, taking in the panoramic view of the mountains and rivers for tens of thousands of miles. Nan Huairan was not so brazen. After putting Li Qiye up there, he quickly jumped down to stand at the statue's foot. No matter what, they were fellow disciples. He couldn't leave Li Qiye sitting up there and walk away, otherwise, if that guy got Embarrassed and caused some kind of scandal, the cleansing incense ancient sect might not be able to hold its head up. That friend of Nan Huairen, surnamed Zhang, didn't want to stand here for another second, immediately turned and left without a word of farewell. Humph, that rude country bumpkin disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect is truly disrespectful. A disciple of the Nine Saint Demon Gate looked at Li Qiye sitting on the stone statue, saying contemptuously. Another disciple coldly snorted. Humph, he thinks he's some big shot to dare to sit up there. He should look at himself in the mirror. Ignoring the dissatisfied whispers and discussions of the 9 Saint Demon Gate disciples below, Li Qiye still sat leisurely on the stone statue's shoulder, dangling his legs comfortably, constantly muttering, as if talking to the statue. Li Qiye's crazy behavior made everyone here unable to express the fury in their hearts. What an ignorant fool! Nan Huairen's mind was in turmoil. He just wanted to leave immediately, but he couldn't leave Li Qiye here alone. Nan Huairen's situation at this moment could be described as sitting on pins and needles. Only later, Li Qiye seemed to have gotten bored of sitting, waving his hand to signal Nan Huairen. Nan Huairen felt relieved, immediately jumping up to bring Li Qiye down, while hastily advising, "Senior brother, it's getting dark, why don't we go back and rest?" He didn't dare to take Li Qiye out for a stroll anymore. Heaven knows what other eccentric actions this guy would take. Seeing Nan Huairen's attitude, Li Qiye just smiled, nodding in agreement. Damn! Seeing Li Qiye's demeanor, a 9 Saint Demon Gate disciple couldn't help but mock. The cleansing incense ancient sect is just a small, insignificant sect, a toad wanting to eat swan meat. I spit. A stupid black turtle dares to demand our senior sister. Seeing someone provoking him, Li Qiye calmly turned back and said, "Marry your senior sister. Are you putting on airs? Even if she was a heavenly maiden, or an immortal maiden, she would have to see if I agree to marry her. Let alone your senior sister. Not a chance. Damn, you're seeking death." Because Li Xuangan was admired by many male disciples, when they heard Li Qiye say that, almost all the disciples of the 9 Saint Demon Gate here shouted angrily, glaring at him intensely. Calm down, everyone, let's keep the peace." This situation made Nan Huairen's bones go cold, immediately dragging Li Qiye away. He couldn't let this lunatic stay here for another moment. "You little mice, if you're so good, stand still." The 9 Saint Demon Gate disciples shouted loudly. If Li Qiye and his group were not guests of the sect, they would have probably chased after them and rushed in to beat Li Qiye until he was crippled. Nan Huairen dragged Li Qiye straight back to their small courtyard. Only then did Nan Huairen dare to breathe a sigh of relief. He was truly afraid when he thought of the consequences of Li Qiye's arrogant, self-important, and slightly idiotic actions. "Senior brother, the 9 Saint Demon Gate is not a place we can afford to provoke. A step back brings a vast sky and wide sea, please endure a bit." Nan Huairen's voice was full of pleading as he advised Li Qiye, not only worried for Li Qiye, but also not wanting to put himself in the lion's mouth. "Endure what?" Li Qiye smiled carelessly and said, "When the troops come, the general defends. When the water comes, the earth blocks." Nan Huairen was stunned. Looking after a person like Li Qiye was also synonymous with seeking trouble for himself. At this moment, he truly regretted accepting the mission to go to the 9 Saint Demon Gate. Most of the young disciples of the 9 Saint Demon Gate were very dissatisfied with this marriage relationship. Li Xuangan was a naturally peerless beauty standing high above, causing countless male disciples to secretly adore her. Therefore, everyone was furious at the possibility of Li Xuangan being married to the chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect. In their eyes, the cleansing incense ancient sect was just a small, declining sect. How could they be qualified to be in-laws with the 9 Saint Demon Gate? Not to mention this chief disciple was a trash person. Considering it a great disgrace, many male disciples wished they could strangle Li Qiye right there. Du Yuanguang was one of them. He was only an outer disciple of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, but because his talent was not bad, many people called him Little Genius. He had only joined the sect for 5 years but had already reached the peak of the Meridian Opening Realm. As long as he passed this year's assessment, he could become a key disciple for cultivation in the Nine Saint Demon Gate. Du Yuanguang was extremely infatuated with and admired the goddess Li Qiye, because when he participated in the assessment to join the Nine Saint Demon Gate, she was the one who presided over the selection of disciples. That year, when he saw Li Qiye and was selected by her to join the Nine Saint Demon Gate, he convinced himself that she had some affection for him. Du Yuanguang was very confident in his talent. He always hoped that one day he could become Li Qiye's Dao companion, cultivating the Dao with her. Now, a marriage relationship with the cleansing incense ancient sect suddenly appeared. This made Du Yuanguang, even without meeting him, already hate Li Qiye immensely. Now, the words Li Qiye spoke, looking down on Li Qiye, made Du Yuanguang feel towering rage. A vulgar mortal trash person who doesn't know life from death dares to speak so boastfully. If I don't teach that scoundrel a lesson, he might still be arrogant and not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Du Yuanguang's eyes bulged, emanating intense murderous intent, angrily roaring. Early on the second morning, Li Qiye had just woken up and immediately dragged Nan Huairen to go all over the Nine Saint Demon Gate. He wanted to see if anything was left behind here. Nan Huairen was 100 times unwilling to go. Whether Li Qiye was a fool or a lunatic, his intuition told him that Li Qiye would absolutely cause trouble, and going with him would only invite disaster. But Li Qiye had turned and walked off, regardless of whether Nan Huairen wanted to follow or not, forcing him to reluctantly tag along. This trip was primarily for the assessment, and if anything happened to Li Qiye before that, he would have a hard time explaining. But not long after Li Qiye and the 2 others left, they were surrounded by a group of people, including Du Yuanguang, who was hailed as a little genius among the outer disciples. It wasn't just Du Yuanguang. There were also more than a dozen other disciples of the Nine Saint Demon Gate. These people had long been displeased with Li Qiye, but hadn't had a chance to teach him a lesson. Now that they had Du Yuanguang leading them, they willingly followed to educate the trash like Li Qiye. So it's brother Du, I've long admired your reputation, long admired your reputation. Nan Huairen felt apprehensive when he saw Du Yuanguang's group aggressively approaching, but he still smiled and greeted them. Du Yuanguang only glanced at Nan Huairen, and then coldly said, Nan Huairen, this is none of your business. Step aside, or we'll deal with you too. Du Yuanguang's words made Nan Huairen's expression change. However, he was the kind of person who yielded to the strong, so he still endured it. Bowing and hurriedly asking, Brother Du, what is this all about? Du Yuanguang didn't bother to look at him, only looking at Li Qiye with coldness and killing intent. Li Qiye just glared back at Du Yuanguang and stepped forward, leisurely saying, A smart dog doesn't block the road. If you don't want to be a dog, then get out of the way. As soon as he finished speaking, Nan Huairen knew that everything was ruined. Especially when he saw Du Yuanguang's murderous gaze. One disciple angrily shouted, You're courting death. Your cleansing incense ancient sect isn't even qualified to be a sect, yet you dare to jump around in front of our Nine Saint Demon Gate. It seems you're tired of living. How dare an insignificant ant be so disrespectful? Li Qiye was about to reply but was quickly stopped by Nan Huairen, who whispered, Let it go, senior brother, don't pay attention to them. Du Yuanguang is an outer disciple whom the Nine Saint Demon Gate is focusing on cultivating, and also the last apprentice of Protector Su in the Nine Saint Demon Gate. If he passes this year's examination, he will immediately become an inner disciple. Nan Huairen's intention was to remind Li Qiye that they couldn't provoke a person like Du Yuanguang. his backer was Protector Su of the Nine Saint Demon Gate. One must know that the Protector's status in the Nine Saint Demon Gate was even higher than the elders in the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Du Yuanguang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He didn't make a move, only coldly said, "Our Nine Saint Demon Gate rules the Ancient Ox Kingdom. Although the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect is a small sect, you are still our guests, and we won't neglect our hospitality. However, recently, we brothers lost a treasure." Du Yuanguang spoke slowly, making Nan Huairen's face even paler. He panicked. "Brother Du, what do you mean?" Du Yuanguang glanced. "Nothing, it's just that for the past 2 days. Besides your Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect guests, no other strangers have come here." Du Yuanguang clearly implied that the thief was someone from the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. These words didn't just affect one person, but also the honor of the entire Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Even a tactful person like Nan Huairen's expression became extremely ugly. "Brother Du, please mind your words." Nan Huairen originally wanted to mediate, but since the matter was related to the sect's honor, he would not ignorantly agree with them. Du Yuanguang continued to look at the two people disdainfully, saying, "Mind my words. The Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect is dilapidated and dirt poor. Who can guarantee that a chicken-stealing, dog-catching type won't infiltrate you? The great disciple who represents you is merely trash. It's not surprising to say your sect takes in thieves as disciples." Nan Huairen was so angry that his face turned red. For a disciple with passion for the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect like him, he couldn't tolerate his sect being insulted. "Brother Du, we want to meet the Hallmaster Fu of your esteemed sect. No matter what, you must give our Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect a satisfactory answer." Since the matter was related to the sect's honor, Nan Huairen absolutely would not let it go. Du Yuanguang just sneered and confidently said, "Meet Hallmaster Fu." "Nan Huairen, it's not that I don't want to save you face, but you and this trash aren't qualified to meet Hallmaster Fu. The Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect is just a small sect, while our Hallmaster is capable of being conferred the title of hero. If your elder came to plead, it might barely be possible. You two are far from qualified. Especially this trash." After speaking, Du Yuanguang coldly stared at Li Qiye. "That's right. Exactly. What is the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, and that trash great disciple? They're no different from mud. Their presence here only dirties the entrance of our Nine Saint Demon Gate." The disciples around Du Yuanguang clamored and laughed. Nan Huairen was so angry that he trembled. This matter was extremely humiliating for him, and for the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. Only Li Qiye calmly looked at Du Yuanguang and leisurely said, "This is your intention, or your Hall Master's or Protector's intention, it doesn't matter, it's not important. Du Brat, you simply like the successor of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, the girl named Li Xuangan, I believe. Although I've never met the immortal maiden in your hearts, you guys are too narrow-minded. The successor of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, Li Xuangan, wanting to marry me is just a unilateral idea. Based on the little status of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, I might consider having your goddess as a maid by my side. And someone like you?" Li Qiye glanced at Du Yuanguang and continued, "You're very foolish. If your goddess had any talent, she naturally wouldn't even look at trash like you. I, Li Qiye, don't care about her, but you stupidly run around competing for a woman. You're not even qualified for that. Get out of the way, go find a cool spot and sit down. You beast, you want to die, I will grant you death." Du Yuanguang was provoked into a rage by Li Qiye. Shouting, his divine light behind him, and the precious sword in his hand instantly appearing. "Du Yuanguang, if you want to fight, I'll accompany you." Seeing Li Qiye so bold, Nan Huairen, who was holding in his anger, secretly cheered in delight. However, Nan Huairen also knew that Li Qiye had never cultivated, so he immediately stepped in front of him. Good, Nan Huairen. I'll deal with you first and then kill this beast. Du Yuanguang was so angry that his eyes looked like they were spitting fire. To him, Li Xuangan was an unparalleled goddess and Li Qiye. Insulting the person in his dream was even worse than insulting him. No wonder Du Yuanguang was raging mad. Li Qiye slowly pushed Nan Huairen aside, calmly saying, Huairen, since someone wants my life, let me kill him myself. You just stand and watch. Good. Good. Excellent. Du Yuanguang didn't get angry but laughed loudly instead. This is the most laughable thing I've ever heard. A trash person who only knows a few parlor tricks loudly wants to kill a cultivator at the Meridian Opening Realm like me. Very well, I'll give you a chance to duel. Ha ha ha. The other disciples of the Nine Saint Demon Gate burst into laughter. They felt sorry for Li Qiye, and some even laughed loudly, saying, Martial skill fighting Dao technique. Your cleansing incense ancient sect doesn't even know the most basic things, yet dares to be arrogant and ignorant. Truly pathetic. Li Qiye also didn't bother to look at them, only calmly said, Very well, let everyone witness this duel. He didn't say much and walked towards the arena. No way. Nan Huairen was scared, hurriedly pulling Li Qiye back, saying, Senior brother. Absolutely not. Du Yuanguang has reached the vigorous pillar level in the Meridian Opening Realm. You're far from being his match. It's fine, it's just Meridian Opening, not a marquee. And if a marquee in the Nine Saint Demon Gate dares to displease me, I'll mince them into meat paste too. Li Qiye smiled faintly and pushed Nan Huairen away. Nan Huairen was momentarily dizzy. His first thought was that his senior brother was crazy. Li Qiye had only joined the sect for a few days, and hadn't even cultivated the most basic Dao technique heart method. All he had in his hands was at most the wondrous gate saber art. A person who only practiced martial skills, and had never cultivated Dao techniques fundamentally couldn't challenge a cultivator. Martial skills and Dao techniques were worlds apart. Especially since Du Yuanguang was an expert at the Meridian Opening Realm. Pity the ignorant fool. Du Yuanguang's face darkened. If you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. I don't mind using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Just one move from senior brother is enough to kill him. The disciples following Du Yuanguang chimed in. Not only Du Yuanguang, but all the disciples of the Nine Saint Demon Gate thought, a martial artist fighting a cultivator. He's asking for death. Martial skills against Dao techniques are no different from a willow branch in the wind, completely ineffective. Furthermore, Du Yuanguang was a young genius who had reached the Meridian Opening Realm. Killing trash like Li Qiye with one sword move was as easy as eating a meal. Nan Huairen, after recovering his senses, was startled. He immediately turned and ran to find his master, Protector Mo, to protect Li Qiye. He knew that if Li Qiye fought Du Yuanguang, he would surely die. The news of Li Qiye challenging Du Yuanguang was intentionally spread, and soon reached the ears of all the disciples throughout the Nine Saint Demon Gate. In the Nine Saint Demon Gate, Du Yuanguang also had some fame, having reached the Meridian Opening Realm just 5 years after joining the sect, earning him the title of Little Genius. Such aptitude would be considered a great genius in the cleansing incense ancient sect. Even the senior brothers and senior sisters who joined earlier were surprised to hear the news. Challenge Du Yuanguang. Du Yuanguang is the personal disciple of Protector Su. Although his golden wolf physique has only reached the acquired level, it is still quite ferocious. What realm has that chief disciple of the cleansing incense ancient sect reached? Some senior brothers and senior sisters who had recently come out of seclusion hadn't heard about Li Qiye, so it was inevitable they were curious. Senior brother Sheng is too worried. The cleansing incense ancient sect is just a mediocre sect without experts, and their chief disciple is just a trash person. Mortal longevity wheel. Mortal physique, mortal fate palace. He hasn't even been in the cleansing incense ancient sect for 2 days. I heard he only practices martial skills, and hasn't even cultivated the most basic Tao technique. A disciple laughed while replying. Hearing this, the senior brothers and senior sisters who didn't know about Li Qiye felt even more confused. A martial artist challenging a cultivator. He must be tired of living. Truly a calf not fearing a tiger, how sad. A senior brother shook his head, no longer interested in watching. The matter was uninteresting, Du Yuanguang could resolve everything with just one sword move. Some disciples of the 9 Saint Demon Gate the same age as Du Yuanguang were excited, laughing and saying, "Let's go watch senior brother Du butcher a chicken." The person from the cleansing incense ancient sect doesn't know life from death. A bunch of country bumpkins dare to provoke our 9 Saint Demon Gate. They truly want to die. The news somehow also reached the ears of some hall masters and protectors. Some shook their heads and said, "Truly foolish." Another protector thought differently, coldly saying, "This might not be a bad thing. Killing a trash person is nothing good, but a foolish junior from the cleansing incense ancient sect daring to provoke our 9 Saint Demon Gate is an insult to us. Even if we make a big deal out of it, they will still have to come and redeem the person and apologize." These words made some protectors and hall masters frown, although the cleansing incense ancient sect was in decline. It was still an emperor tradition immortal gate. It was rumored that the cleansing incense ancient sect still held immortal laws and emperor arts, the legacy of Minrin immortal emperor, which countless people coveted like hungry tigers. The 9 Saint Demon Gate currently only needed a protector to act to seize the emperor art from the cleansing incense ancient sect. However, the demon emperor of the 9 Saint Demon Gate had never expressed an attitude about this, and the elders in the sect also kept silent. Otherwise, if the demon emperor gave the order, someone would immediately move to seize the emperor art, let alone bother with negotiations. Just as the 9 Saint Demon Gate's high level was pondering, Li Qiye was already standing in the arena. Quite a few young disciples of the 9 Saint Demon Gate gathered, shouting and cheering for the fun. To the young disciples of the 9 Saint Demon Gate, killing the trash Li Qiye was nothing interesting. They were just curious to see how Du Yuanguang would torment Li Qiye. When Du Yuanguang entered the arena, a disciple of the 9 Saint Demon Gate shouted loudly, "Senior brother Du, chop off his head with one sword." Another disciple yelled, "One sword is too easy for him. He dared to insult senior sisterly and humiliate our 9 Saint Demon Gate, we must cut off pieces of his flesh." Those who adored Li Xuangan, upon hearing Li Qiye's words, only wished they could chop him into 1,000,000 pieces. Offending someone from my 9 Saint Demon Gate means death. Junior brother Du, don't rush to kill him, first chop off his limbs, and force the cleansing incense ancient sect to come and redeem the person. Let the entire central great territory, and even the Emperor continent, know the tragic fate of opposing our 9 Saint Demon Gate. Another senior brother spoke up. In just a moment, the disciples of the 9 Saint Demon Gate were clamoring loudly. In their eyes, Li Qiye was merely a fish on a cutting board, ready to be slaughtered by Du Yuanguang. In the middle of the arena, Li Qiye glanced at Du Yuanguang and said, "Are your 9 Saint Demon Gate disciples all bark and no bite? Are you only good at talking? You ignorant beast, one sword and I'll separate your head from your body." Du Yuanguang's face was cold. He sneered. Li Qiye didn't pay attention, calmly replying, "If you want to fight, hurry up, you're wasting too much time." Saying that, he tightly gripped the short saber in his left hand, aiming at Du Yuanguang and said, "Make your move. Die." Du Yuanguang was infuriated by Li Qiye's insult. He, a little genius, was being looked down upon by a martial artist today. In his rage, A sword broke through the void and struck. The sword was as fast as lightning, sharp and overbearing, stabbing straight towards Li Qiye's heart. This sword carried Du Yuanguang's endless wrath. Li Qiye didn't retreat but advanced, taking one step forward, the saber in his left hand twisted like a spiritual snake, instantly deflecting the long sword to one side. A faint sound was heard. Sparks flew everywhere. Although Du Yuanguang's sword didn't stab Li Qiye's heart, it still pierced through his left shoulder. An ant. Du Yuanguang smirked, and immediately after, he was surprised to discover that when his sword pierced Li Qiye's left shoulder, the opponent's right hand suddenly moved. In an instant, even Du Yuanguang couldn't see how the saber in Li Qiye's hand had slashed out. Good. This one saber move was too fast, incomparably profound. The trajectory of the saber was impossible to discern. And the 9 Saint Demon Gate disciples shouted loudly when they saw Du Yuanguang's sword pierce Li Qiye. Just then, blood gushed out from Du Yuanguang's throat, and his whole body collapsed backward. Li Qiye was utterly ruthless in a flash. The 2 wondrous gate sabers left his hands and flew over. Show mercy. At the moment Du Yuanguang's long sword pierced Li Qiye's left shoulder, Nan Huairen and Protector Mo finally arrived. Protector Mo saw Li Qiye's left shoulder pierced from afar and quickly shouted. Thud. Thud. But it was too late. In an instant Du Yuanguang's body fell, the 2 short sabers intertwined. Mysteriously, instantly piercing through Du Yuanguang's body. By the time Du Yuanguang hit the ground, his entire body had been cut into 5 pieces, blood splattering everywhere. Show mercy. Protector Mo rushed over wanting to save the person, but when he arrived, all was silent. Du Yuanguang's eyes were wide open. Even at the moment of death he didn't know how he died. How could he know that Li Qiye's wondrous gate saber art was the saber technique passed down by Minren Immortal Emperor? Even if Minren Immortal Emperor only casually refined it, it was terrifyingly unparalleled. How terrifying was a martial skill honed by an immortal emperor? Even if it couldn't compare to emperor arts, it was not something that other ordinary Dao techniques could match. More frighteningly, Li Qiye also understood the profound mysteries of this saber technique. From ancient times until now, besides Minren Immortal Emperor, only Li Qiye understood it so thoroughly. One must know that if this saber technique was cultivated to the peak of perfection, it could even slay a marquis. Du Yuanguang was contemptuous in battle. How could he avoid such an unparalleled, profound saber technique? One fatal saber move, this was the result Li Qiye exchanged for one sword piercing his shoulder. In an instant the entire arena fell silent. No more laughter or shouting, everyone was still stunned. Nan Huairen's mouth was wide open. He rushed over to save Li Qiye. But even he couldn't have imagined that Li Qiye would dismember Du Yuanguang with just one saber move. Martial skills killing cultivators, this was impossible, unless Li Qiye was an expert. But Li Qiye was not an expert, so this was impossible. At this moment, Li Qiye was slowly pulling the sword out of his shoulder. The sound of the sword scraping against the bone was extremely grating, yet Li Qiye didn't even frown. He had already experienced far greater pain. This little ache was nothing. The sword was withdrawn, blood spurted out. Li Qiye casually threw the sword away and walked out, looking at everyone, saying regretfully, "It seems my saber technique is still lacking. I had to exchange a sword for a little lesson." Nan Huairen's mouth was agape, and it took a long time for him to close it, making his jaw sore. Dismembering Du Yuanguang with one saber move and still feeling regretful, what kind of absurdity was this? This was truly beyond his imagination. As for the surrounding 9 Saint Demon Gate disciples, they were all stunned, temporarily unable to regain their composure. Du Yuanguang was a little genius among the disciples, a master at the meridian opening realm, yet he was dismembered by the opponent with one saber move. The shocking scene made it impossible for them to remain calm. After a while, Protector Mo was the first to regain his composure. He immediately acted to stop the bleeding for Li Qiye, then said in a deep voice, "Let's go." Saying that, he pulled Li Qiye and turned to leave. Nan Huairan calmed down, not daring to stay any longer, immediately following his master. Protector Mo brought Li Qiye back to the small courtyard, and upon arrival, he sat down in a daze without saying a word. At this moment, he no longer had the presence of mind to think about how Li Qiye killed Du Yuanguang. He was worried about the great disaster of killing a disciple of the Nine Saint Demon Gate. Nan Huairan recovered his senses and immediately applied medicine and carefully bandaged Li Qiye's wound. This is impossible. The wondrous gate saber art is just an ordinary martial skill. How could it kill an expert at the Meridian Opening Realm? While bandaging Li Qiye, Nan Huairan was still contemplating the matter. In fact, Nan Huairan had seen the wondrous gate saber art before, but considered it just a martial skill. So he didn't bother to practice it. "It's only because you don't understand." Li Qiye lay on the chair, saying softly with satisfaction. Of course, currently the wondrous gate saber art of the cleansing incense ancient sect was still incomplete, the complete saber technique, and all its deep meaning were still in his head. If Li Qiye had said that before, Nan Huairan would have definitely thought he was crazy, just talking nonsense for the sake of it.